And a lot of people can benefit from the knowledge that I have from 20 years of building tech companies, science and technology companies. So I share it quite freely. I post daily on LinkedIn. I run these 2 workshops, one on marketing, one on fundraising every month. And I talk about my approach. And, if someone hears it and they think, yeah, you know what, you're onto a good thing. I've got this, I've got the resources in house, I could do it myself, and they could take it and they go off and do it. That's fine by me. Another successful technology company in the world, I'm happy.
Right.
But obviously, those companies who see what I'm proposing and think it is a better way forward, faster, and ultimately cheaper, then they can come and work with me. And that's my kind of business model. My background is basically working at the intersection between science, business, and funding for over 2 decades now. And that's the space where genuinely new to the world innovations come from. So I don't work with people who are just producing the next version of something that already exists. I do the hard bit, and I work with those companies who are bringing something that's genuinely new and innovative to the market. So my passion has always been applying science and technology so it makes a difference in the real world. It solves real problems for real people, not just publications that no bugger reads. The last role I had was working with an innovation consulting company that came out of the University of Oxford. And we were traveling the world, and I was designing and running sort of technology accelerator programs. So working with entrepreneurs, either from the science base or from the private sector, who had a good idea, and getting them to a commercial stage where they've got a good business model, a solid business model, a good pitch deck, and a good sort of proposition that they can go forward with. And I've done that all over the world, and in lots of different for lots of different government bodies and for private sector as well. And I've basically been spending 2 years building up my company, but also researching. I've been talking with early stage investors, with founders, with university incubators, with anyone who works in support of this weird sector that I love, to understand, why 9 out of 10 early stage technology companies end up in failure, and seeing what I could do to improve those sorts of statistics and what value I could add. Is helping founders, being that sort of commercial partner, to guide them through the process of creating a company and growing an offering that attracts investor interest and attracts customers to it, rather than developing a technology which then have to push on the world and sort of bombard them with marketing, which is very, very expensive and very, very difficult. So I've come up with a couple of sort of revolutionary approaches. One is the fundraising process itself, because many founders go about fundraising like it's spraying a shotgun. It's like, I call it spraying and praying. Create a pitch deck, create a business plan, send it out to every investor on the planet you can find that's got an email address, and sit back and wait for the funds to start rolling in. And they don't. They wait years.
I was gonna say it doesn't.
It's a technology that's trying to be pushed to the market. Whereas also what you want to be doing is capitalizing and identifying those trends in the market, which is saying what the world needs, or what the state of California, or what the US, or what India, or whatever market needs is an electric vehicle that does this. And then you've got market pull. And then you've got that kind of that North Star that you can sort of guide your development on, and it makes the whole process a lot easier. So fundraising is one of them. But getting the right market, getting the right offering to the market in the right way is something that I think I specialize in. And I've come up with something that I call the product market fit design sprint. So design sprint, you may be aware of, it's the technique that Google Ventures has used to build massively successful tech companies. And it works on the principle of a bit like the lean startup model, coming up with an idea, identifying a sort of experiment to go and undertake, getting that sort of validation back from the market, and iterating the offer, and then keep going round and round. And the idea with the lean startup model is obviously you go around this model enough times until people are literally throwing money at you, and then you've got evidence that you're onto a good thing, you've got sort of product market fit. And I try and help customers who are launching a new company get as much of that done in sort of the pre-work, pre-launch stages, rather than go to the market with one offer and then spend the next sort of 6 to 8 months furiously peddling to change their offer to suit what the market needs.
Yeah.
So I basically would work with companies in this kind of design sprint environment, which can be done as a series of workshops, or it can be done online, can be done face to face, to basically come up with a sort of a concept and validate it with the market in the context of the sprint. So within the sprint itself, we'll be coming up with an initial prototype, and that might just be a marketing flyer with some pretty pictures on. But I would then lead the process of doing some customer discovery and customer validation to see whether there are elements to the offer that need tweaking, so that you can then come up when you do launch the market or you go to an investor, you've got the evidence to say, look, we've come up with this idea, we've tested it with clients, here's the market feedback, and that gives much more credence to your approach. And as you know, if you're approaching investors, the worst thing you can do is go to an investor and say, look, we've got this great idea. We want your money to help go improve it. It's a good one.
Yeah, that is not, that's
because all you're doing is basically asking for their money to go and gamble with.
Yep.
And what investor in their right mind, unless they're really passionate about what it is that you're doing and why they're doing it, is going to back that. So I would suggest focusing down on. So if we were running a sprint together, I would focus it on that kind of initial question. What's optimum launch configuration for this? The minimum viable products, if you like, offering that we could get funding for, and then put that into play. And that's so on the marketing side. So you've got kind of three offers: the fundraising, the offer development. And on the marketing side, I base everything around creating a compelling story for the startup, because it's very easy when you've got a technical background, especially if you come from academia as well, to start talking about your product concept in terms of what it is, what it does, how it works, the features of it, all this sort of stuff. And investors and the customers don't give a shit about that. They want to know, what's the size of the market opportunity, how different is your product, who have you got on your team, and what's your passion for doing this, and then what the technology is, what the offer is. Because at the early stage, everything's up for discussion. Everything can change as initial market entry. So they want to see that you've got a really solid market opportunity to address, a sizable and growing one. They want to see that you've got a solution that's radically different and better than what's currently out there. And they want to see that you've got a great team who's passionate about seeing this journey through. I basically wrap that up into a nice sort of package story that then can be used as like the central spine of your marketing activities. It can go into your pitch, it can go into your website, it can go into a video, it can go into anything else, but it basically underpins your approach to tell the world about why it is you exist.
Yeah.
Not what you do or how you do it, but why. It's kind of the Simon Sinek starting with why approach that Apple uses so brilliantly in their marketing when they say think different.
Right.
They're not talking about what it is, the iPhone and the iPad and blah blah. They're not talking about the fact that they've got sleek design and blah blah blah, blah all that stuff. They don't do all of that. They just say, we're Apple, we think different, and that approach to marketing attracts people to the brand who get what it is that you do and why you do it. And that's my sort of central approach to help technology companies with marketing. So I'm trying to be a disruptor in this space, because I think that the way that the current sort of early stage technology investment market works is broken. And I think that technology brokers or investment brokers who are taking 5 to 7.5% of your deal raise are part of the problem. I think that accelerators are part of the problem, taking shares of equity in your company for teaching you a load of business concepts you don't really need to know anyway, and then watching as you do all the work to apply them to your company, and take months, if not years, of your life, and then take equity for that, but before they put you in front of a bunch of random investors that they know, none of which are likely to be your ideal investor. The alternative is you go it alone, which is the spraying and praying approach. You do your own steam, you burn your own cash, and if you're lucky, you'll get that funding before you run out of cash or keel over from burnout. So I'm trying to present, a viable.
Lucky is the key word right there, because odds are no. It's just to say you ain't gonna fail.
Well, if you're doing that approach, the odds of getting a deal, investment
Uh,
deal, by just sending an email pitch deck to an investor are
yeah.
actually, I've done the research, it's 6,000 to 1.
There you go.
I mean, would you really bet all the investment you put into your startup, all the funding
Yeah.
you've got, all the work, all your effort, all your ideas, at a poker table, and then someone offers you to put all of that on the table for an odds of 6,000 to 1 return? You'd be off. There's no way you'd be placing that bet. And that's why, my approach to consulting work with clients is based on, I get paid as a consultant, and then the success you have for your company is yours to keep. I don't want to be taking, shares of whatever money you raise. I don't want to be taking equity in your company. Because I want to be making sure that the founders enjoy the success that they're responsible
Right.
for,
Right.
and
That
I
makes
get
sense.
paid the value add. And
Yeah.
because of my the mental recovery from my crash, I was actually diagnosed with adult ADHD. And that explains a lot about my life. And I won't bore you with that. But when you see the way that I work at PPM Consulting, which is all short, sharp, impactful interventions, I come in, we work together by a series of workshops, we identify what the problem is, we come up with a plan to solve it, whether that's marketing, fundraising, or offer, and then I get the hell out of there. Because that's, that for me is ideal. I love doing that. I don't want to be a long-term coach or a consultant that you pay me on a retainer on a monthly basis. Quite frankly, A, you can't afford it, and B, it bores me. I'm not going to deliver my best work if I have to turn up
Yeah.
every week and go through it. My brain doesn't work that way. It doesn't respond that way. So, I'm finding founders who they recognize that what they've got now is a load of questions in the air. We could serve this market, we could have this particular version of it or this particular size of it. And so it's a very complex set of questions with a lot of complex inputs. And that's the sort of thing my ADHD brain absolutely loves.
Eat it up. Yeah.
Yeah. So I love complex problems. And that's why, I'm
Yeah.
not the sort of management consultant that's going to tell you, right, here's what you need to do. I've got 20 years in the automotive sector. You need to do this, 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 this. I'm not that person. I'm the expert in the processes and the tools and frameworks. I'm the expert guide to help you get to that decision point. So I run the process where I bring in all the expertise that you have in your team and your advisors and everybody else, and I kind of shepherd you through this decision making process so that you come up with the answer and a plan of the way forward collaboratively. That's the sort of thing that is de-risking it from an investor standpoint. You're able to go to them not with we've got this great idea, let's have something of money to play and find out that it's a good one. With here's our thought out, validated sort of prototype of an offer, and if you worked with me and went through the sprint and you've done it and got customer validation, that's a lot less risky bet for an investor to make, because the investors are great at seeing the upside. You don't have to sell them, about the potential size of the markets and where this could go. They're all over that. But what they all want to see is and to avoid hearing the dreaded, come back when you got more traction, is to have that kind of better validated plan of here's our initial proposition and the evidence that says the market needs this, and here's how we're going to launch it, and here's how much money we need to do that. Because then you like with my work, you've broken it up for the investor in a series of bite-sized chunks, and going in at an early stage for an investor is much more is a much better position for them to be in, and they could be an early backer for future rounds. So don't try and boil the ocean and say we could do this and we could do this and then we could target this market and this market and this market. That terrifies investors. All they want to see at the initial stage is real focus on this is what the market is telling us is the gap. This is how we're going to fill it as an initial kind of concept. And here's the sort of resources and money that we need to do that. And then the world's your oyster. Obviously I've got a deep passion in the early stage companies, and I will tend to stop working with companies after about Series A, because once they've got a concept that's proven in the market and the company's growing and growing and growing, then they have very little need for my services. I get you to that point.
Yeah.
I know what I do well, and I do that. So I come up with, I do the strategies and I come up with the plans, and then often I'll leave it to the company to implement. But if the company needs extra help, then I can call on sort of a network of professional advisors and coaches and experts to bring in and do it. So, for example, if you really need to grow sales because your destination you had in mind was getting a serious chunk of funding, you need to show market traction, then I would bring in an expert who sets up sales teams, does sales playbooks, and coaches and mentoring a sales team because that's what they do brilliantly. You didn't have that in your team and you needed it, then I can call on these expert providers. But I really do front end
Yeah.
stuff. Let's get the plan together so that we can get to what I call your next funding destination.
Right.
And that could be
Right.
market launch. It could be a new product entering the market. It could be a new market, or it could be just the next level of funding you're going for. And that's how I've overcome this kind of the issue that I have in my business, that the people who most need my help, they can least afford to pay me anything. But I kind of work well on this kind of breaking the journey of building a successful startup into a series of short hops. And we do one hop, you get a big chunk of funding. Then we do another hop, and
Yeah.
you get the bigger chunk of funding.
Yeah.
So it kind of
Yeah.
starts to pay for itself. This kind of breaking it up into chunks makes it affordable for clients. Anyway,
Yeah. Absolutely.